Hey guys, what's up? It's your man Pete. And you know what's funny? Whenever people ask me how much it costs to buy a townhouse, I always give them this weird look. Because I always find this question difficult to answer. Why? Because we have so many different types of townhouses here in the city with varying price, options, and configurations, which actually often prompts another question from me. Well, how much is your budget? And I hate doing this to people because sometimes it makes them uncomfortable, but the reality is you have to confront the budget and price question. That for me is the most reliable way for me to assess what type of property you should be getting into at any given time. Of course, there are different lifestyle considerations, transit situations, but price and money is king. Sometimes it seems like builders and developers are coming up with new innovative ways and strategies to make more different types of townhouses every single day, which of course makes the homes more affordable and the land use more dense. In fact, townhouses are probably the most diverse category out of all the different housing types we have here in the Greater Toronto Area, because you have some with maintenance fees, you have some without maintenance fees, you have some with a little bit of maintenance fees, but overall it's freehold.
Huh? What? This is starting to get confusing.
So in this video here today, we're going to break down all the different styles and types of townhouse units there are in the city and outside the city, and I'll give you sort of the typical traits, and we'll also do a rough price range. As we know, prices do fluctuate and they keep changing depending on market conditions and the season, but I think it'll give you a rough idea in terms of where you can place yourself budget-wise. I'm going to make it as easy as possible so that when you go out there and you're looking at properties, you can assess and analyze them quickly and then be able to make a decision on putting in an offer or going with another property because you didn't know that there was other different types of townhouse options in the same budget range. At the end of the day, it's all about making you feel more comfortable and confident in your decision, and of course to help you relieve some of that FOMO. So we're gonna go a little bit deep and get right into it right after this. Hey guys, welcome back. So Toronto is absolutely one of the most abundant cities in North America, and the housing stock and options is no different. Because in the townhouse category, we literally have 9 different types that I'm going to highlight to you to give you a sense of how you can live in them, what's the different sizes, style, and configurations there are, and roughly how much it's going to be to get into each one. You know what else I'd like to get you into? My other videos. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button, give us a like so that you don't miss another upload. And as Gary Vee used to say, let's get on with the show. So the first type of townhouse that I wanted to talk about is the old traditional row house, which is really an old way of saying townhouse because, well, these properties are old, like 100 years old. And while historically when Toronto's real estate market wasn't doing so well, these homes were not very desirable. They were being rented out and some were even being used as rooming houses. But my, have we come a long way here in the city. In the last 20 years, these homes have been transformed into beautiful luxury homes, selling for anywhere between $1 million to $3 million. And we've seen them completely transform to luxury dream homes with open concept floor plans, soaring ceilings, generous room sizes, and sometimes even a rentable space in the basement or upstairs. They also have small backyards and small front yards as well too, and some may or may not have parking. But of course, these types of homes are located in the older parts of Toronto, which are a little bit closer to the downtown core, either to the east or the west or even a little bit north. But these properties have exploded in value over the last 10 to 20 years simply because of location, but also because they're so old, they required massive renovations. And so this was sort of the beginning of our transformation here in the city, where people would go in, buy these really old row houses and completely transform them. They would gut them to the studs, make it completely open concept, perfect for modern living. And now with the possibility of building laneway houses, that creates even more opportunities for properties like these that have garages in the back of their property. Now these homes are completely freehold, which means they don't have maintenance fees on them. You're completely responsible for everything from shoveling to landscaping to windows to roof, which is exactly what you would want or expect from buying your own house. But then of course, that's also why they're very in demand and pricey. Okay, so now on to the newer townhouse and these new communities that we see sometimes in the city of Toronto, but most of the time we'll see it outside in the GTA region, where it's like your typical home. It'll have a garage, it'll have a basement, a backyard, you know, pretty much enough for a young growing family. The basement is oftentimes unfinished because, to be honest, in a brand new home in the first 1 to 3 years, you actually don't want to finish the basement for warranty reasons. Obviously, these are very desirable and pricey too. They don't require a ton of money to renovate. You could just move in as is. And they are also freehold with no maintenance fees attached either. But we are starting to see this style with a little bit of maintenance fees, like $100 to $200. They're called puddle fees. That's starting to emerge as becoming more and more common in the marketplace across the GTA, because they will normally have private roads. They may even have visitors parking. And these are lands that the municipalities or the cities do not service. And so all the residents living living in that community have to pay a little bit of maintenance fee. And sometimes this $100 to $200 pothole fee covers the maintenance of playgrounds if there are any in the community, snow removal, landscaping. Overall, the property is still freehold where you have to take care of your own roofing, shoveling, windows, everything like that. And like I said before, this is becoming more and more common all across the GTA. Hey, it's better than paying $500-$600 in maintenance fees for your condo, right? At least you get a lot more space. Okay, so next we're gonna get into the smaller condo-like townhouses where in a neighborhood where they have height restrictions and they can't build an actual high-rise condominium building, you will find these types of communities and they're called stacked townhouses. And right off the bat, I gotta tell you, these properties are gonna have a lot of stairs, but they're also a lot more affordable and they compete directly in the condo category. So this is often where a lot of first-time buyers or investors struggle with deciding which one they should get into, whether it's a condo or a townhouse. Historically, even stacked townhouses usually always won that competition, but nowadays people are deciding that they may want a condominium apartment, all the living space on one floor versus it being split on different floors. But again, like I've mentioned in my previous videos, for sometimes people who have always lived in condo apartments or apartment buildings, they like the concept of living in a house that actually has stairs where there's some separation between the bedrooms and the living space. It just feels more like a house and it feels a little bit more luxurious. It feels like you're getting more for your money. Okay, so the way that it works for these properties is typically there's 3 levels where it's literally 3 different houses stacked on top of the other. And what you'll find is that the bottom unit usually doesn't have stairs. It's actually more like a condominium apartment where everything is flat. Everything is on one floor. There's no stairs. These are also the most affordable units in this type of complex. The top floors usually command a higher price and justifiably so because you're living on top of someone else. The middle floors are usually pretty good because you've got 2 levels and you're not in the basement. However, you are sandwiched in between 2 different units. And then the top floor is obviously the best one because you don't have as many neighbors and you get to be on top. So you basically can't really hear anyone above you, which is great and you gotta pay extra for that. But now here's the funny thing. In terms of outdoor space, usually the bottom unit, the flat unit, actually has the most outdoor space. So if you like to barbecue or you like to hang out in front of your house, because there's obviously no backyard, the bottom unit is actually where you wanna be. The middle unit is the one that usually gets shafted the most. It doesn't have as much or any outdoor space. You may be lucky to have sort of a small balcony or a Juliet balcony in the back of your unit, but normally they wouldn't have anything in the front. And then the top units get it the best when it comes to exterior space. Oftentimes they will have the roof entirely to themselves and it's really private, really quiet, and very serene. So if you like barbecues, you like having people over, you want a suntan, or just hang out and read, you want to be on the top floor. So these townhouses usually do have parking with them. Most of the times they're underground, just like a condominium apartment building, and then you either have to come up with the stairs or take an elevator. And frankly, the underground parking is the thing that takes up the most amount of maintenance fees because you need to maintain it, it needs to be heated, it needs to have electricity, it needs to be cleaned. It just needs to be maintained overall. But the great thing about these townhouses is that they typically don't have things like swimming pools, concierge, or a gym to maintain. So you will find that the maintenance fees is usually about 20 to 30 cents per square foot cheaper in these condo townhouses versus a condominium apartment building. And some of them do have lockers for extra storage, but not all of them do. Just letting you know. And of course, the maintenance fees also takes care of things like landscaping, snow removal, and of course to pay for the property manager to look after the entire complex. Okay, so now on to the next one. So these are called the older townhouses. I can't think of any other name for them, but just calling them older townhouses, which to me, they don't look that pleasant because they're older and they just didn't really care about looks back then. But you'll find them in pretty good locations. And of course, you get a lot more interior space. And oftentimes you'll get a basement, a garage, and even a backyard. So it actually feels more like a house, but it's old. So when the market isn't so hot or doing so well, these properties usually sit for a while. But then when the market's hot and options are few, they get snapped up pretty quick too, especially ones that are renovated. In the last 10 or 15 years, we have seen and helped many clients get into these types of properties just because they couldn't get in anywhere else. And they needed the space. They needed actual full-sized bedrooms. So sometimes it's a good middle step in between if you can time the market right and of course put your own touches and renovations on it to update the look. And just like the other townhouses that have maintenance fees, these ones have fees too. Because again, you've got things like private roads, property managers, landscaping, snow removal, visitors parking. But then what you'll find with these older townhouses is sometimes they go above and beyond in terms of giving you benefit and value. Sometimes you'll find the fee includes changing the roof, changing the window, changing the front door, or even the garage door. I've even seen some of these cover your cable TV fees too. But of course they vary depending on the corporation and the board's strategy. Do they want to keep the fees low or do they want to offer the most value to their residents? You'll have to look into the condominium status certificate to figure out what is included and what's not included. Or sometimes the best way to do it is just to call the property manager and ask them all your questions. Okay, so now next is a new and popular type of townhouse that we're seeing more and more of, and they're called the back-to-back townhouses. And so they're super affordable, and usually they're very modern in nature because they're pretty new. It's usually open concept, it's usually low maintenance fees, and especially low maintenance for the homeowner because you literally don't even have a backyard. There's no lawn to mow, there's no snow to remove. But of course, with every property, there's always positives and negatives. And the negative about this particular style is that you don't have a backyard. Your back wall is actually your neighbor's back wall too. And while it's hard for me to describe to you why it's negative, all I can say is that there's a lack of natural sunlight, like there's no windows in the back. And if you're squeezed in the middle of the complex, then you don't have windows on the side either. But if you're more into artificial lighting anyway, then it could be a good option for you. It could be the perfect house if you're a hardcore gamer or gaming is your business. So sometimes you will get a basement with this type of townhouse, and the awesome thing is that it will have underground parking usually, and so you can actually directly access the underground parking garage through your basement. And of course, we know we cannot put a value on avoiding the freezing cold here in Canada. You may get a small balcony or two, like a Juliet balcony, and there will be a lot of stairs. But hey, you can get all your steps and exercise in the house without even leaving it. Again, great for the gamers. Okay, so now on to my favorite style, which is the executive townhome. This has been really popular over the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years from developers because it's becoming a very real trend where builders need to make homes that are big enough for families to live in, but not too big where you have to be cleaning and maintaining the house all the time. And then also, as detached homes become more and more unaffordable, these are going to become the default option for people coming out of condos or smaller townhouses. So as the name suggests, it is built for the modern executive, someone who's busy doing their job or running their business where they just don't have a lot of time or don't have the desire to maintain a house. So these types of houses will have all the features of modern living, such as an open concept flat main floor, but they'll have 3 or 4 bedrooms, which is more than enough for the modern family. It may or may not have a backyard, and some of the newer executive townhomes that you'll find in the GTA region actually have 2-car garages, which makes the home more luxurious and wider, and some of them may even have elevators. And they even have a carved out office space for people who want to work from home or people that need to run a business at home, which is obviously very useful and valuable and practical for what's going on in the world today. So normally you will pay about $100 to $200 in pothole fees that will make sure you have landscaping, snow removal, a property manager, and sometimes even things like roof changes, because it just makes sense to have a property manager look over something so big. And they're all going to be the same age, so you might as well take advantage of the economies of scale and change the roof all at the same time. It just makes sense for the busy modern executive. So I don't need to tell you that these homes are typically a little bit more expensive. They're in the $1 million to $1.5 million range, as they are almost freehold and they feel like a proper house without having to deal with all the dirty stuff outside the house. And if you have a young family, you can grow into it for some time. And if you're coming from a small condominium apartment or a smaller townhouse, it's gonna feel like a lot of house, trust me. So these homes can get pretty big too. They can range from 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, but the more recently built ones, the modern ones, are somewhere in the range of 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. Okay, so now on to the next style, which is not too common, but you will find them attached to larger condominium structures. Some people call them urban towns or city towns or even executive townhouses too. But for our purposes in this video, I'm just gonna call them townhomes connected to a condo, where you get to use the underground parking garage, you get to access concierge so they can take packages for you. You can use all the amenities in the building, such as the swimming pool, movie theaters, gyms, party rooms, all those types of things. And then in size, they do operate just like an executive townhome. They're usually 2 or 3 levels high, and you're looking at somewhere between probably 1,000 to 2,000 square feet, which is more than enough in size. And of course, you're going to be in a spectacular location if it's connected to a condo building. But the main negative about these townhouses is not so much the living style, but it's how much you're paying on a monthly basis to use all those services connected to the building. Because maintenance fees is typically calculated on a per square foot basis. And so if you're living in just a regular condo apartment unit that's 800 square feet, let's say the maintenance fees is 70 cents per square foot, then you should be looking to pay about $560 per month in maintenance fees. But let's say your townhouse is double the size and footprint, it's 1,600 square feet. And regardless of how often you use these services and amenities, you're still paying the same 70 cents per square foot, which if we calculate it, it comes out to $1,120 to live in this townhouse. That's a lot to pay for all this convenience. I'm still Asian after all. Because these townhouses are attached to the larger condominium structure, you'll find that they're often in very prime locations. Like usually you'll be able to walk to a subway, or sometimes the subway might even be directly connected under the building, which is of course great for saving time and avoiding the cold weather. And of course, if you can afford it and you're willing to pay for the prime location, then I gotta say, go get it, girl. Okay, and I promise there's one more. This is the last one. It's really more of an honorable mention, but it does exist and we're seeing more and more of this, and that is the live work townhouse, which is that on the bottom floor is actually a retail space or an office for you to run your business, and then on the top 2 floors you live there. I mean, of course this is really cool for a business person, an entrepreneur, someone who needs office space but doesn't want to have to travel to an office. You've saved yourself a ton of commute time, which is pretty cool. And although it's not that common and not that in demand, it's an option, it's available, and maybe it's useful for us going forward if we do end up living a new, different lifestyle. It's just nice to know that there are different options and availabilities for us depending on our lifestyle. And it's especially good for those who don't even have a driver's license, because you don't have to go anywhere to your office. Okay, so I hope this guide was useful and helpful to you in some way as you set out on your journey trying to find a townhouse for yourself to live in or to invest in as an investor and landlord. And I can certainly understand the confusion, so that's why I wanted to provide some clarity here, because the term townhouse actually has a different image in everybody's minds. And so while you may be talking about an executive townhouse, somebody might be thinking stacked townhouse, which is why the budget and the location really matter. And like I always say, it's really difficult to choose a property based on one criteria. You want to have a holistic approach to it and choose the one that suits your lifestyle the best, and of course suits your wallet the best. So please be sure to hit the subscribe button if you guys like this video. Give us a like, feel free to leave us a comment. We'll try to get back to you whenever we can. Or if you're ready to buy and sell right now, then please feel free to give us an email and we'll chat some more to help you dissect and analyze and find the best property for you. So thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.